Vinyl Venture Cowpokes, are you ready for a showdown? A top 5 countdown.
And we're doing top 5 MTV darlings. These are bands that we probably wouldn't be talking about at least as much if MTV hadn't just thrown their songs into circulation. You had an interesting front row seat to MTV because it happened when you were a teenager, right? And that experience is so much different than what I had because I was 6, 7?
6, 7, 6, 7.
6, 7.
Something like that, maybe 8. It was 81, right?
81.
Okay, so
August of 81.
7. Math is hard. But I knew it as just kind of like another version of radio. But it really wasn't. It was so much more.
Oh, yeah.
And it furthered careers of so many bands. And the other crazy thing to think about when I was reading last night about it, everybody knows Video Killed the Radio Star was the first video they showed. That's the Buggles. And then there were about, 16 videos that they played on repeat? Something like that.
There weren't a bunch. The first day.
I know Rod Stewart was a big one, right?
Oh yeah, Rod Stewart. The first day they played a lot of videos.
Oh, okay. So there was more than 16.
Yeah.
But the whole idea was like bands before MTV would do, I think, what they called like promotional movies or videos. And there was one band that did a lot of videos, and that was Queen. They had a bunch, like by the time MTV had been on the air for a little while, Queen had a collection of 15 or 20 of their songs with videos to them. So a lot of bands saw that as an opportunity to promote the album, but not until MTV did it just explode.
It blew up.
And what was that like as like a music savvy teen?
There were a couple things with MTV. I grew up kind of on a farm.
Yeah.
We didn't have cable.
Yeah. So you had to go to friends' houses.
I had to go to friends' houses to watch MTV. So in those years, I didn't watch a lot of MTV. I was at friends. Uh-huh. But when I was in college, it was on constantly.
Yeah.
It was just, we just let it run.
I think the first time I saw it, we may not have had cable at the time. I don't even remember how old we were or how old I was when we got cable. But I remember going to my aunt's house, and this is where my cousin, who she was away at college, and I listened to her Billy Squier and AC/DC records and stuff, which I'm sure she appreciated. But that's the first place that I saw MTV. And I remember seeing the person, it was probably Mark Goodman, sitting, casually with his 80s looking outfit. Looks like he just came from Jeans West or Chess King or something. And I remember being very taken by the idea. But I don't think it sunk in that this is like radio with pictures. It was totally different than
it was
radio.
Way different, yeah.
But such a industry changing, across the board, industry changing network and idea. And it's crazy that it took so long for it to happen. But there were so many bands that were 60s and 70s bands that I think looked at it as kind of a novelty and didn't take it seriously. And those are the bands that kind of fell by the wayside. Because if you weren't on the MTV train, and if you weren't into the image mixed with music, you got left at the station.
Yeah, it was one of those. It became the way for people to discover new music.
Yeah, And I think it also became a way for radio programmers to change what they played on just the radio. They kind of adapted to MTV as opposed to the other way around. It was just amazing. So today we wanted to talk about like the top 5 artists whose careers were made. Well, maybe not careers were made, but they were
They were darlings of MTV.
Darlings
and
of the
videos
MTV world.
really helped their careers to the next level.
Yeah. So our first one, we may get some pushback from people on it, but I think it's actually absolutely true.
And this is number 5.
Yeah, this is number 5. And it's, who is this? Wait a minute. Who's Nirvana?
Who's Nirvana?
Oh, I like the little piece of tape over the baby.
Yeah, we don't want the police to come after us.
No, we don't want the YouTube police to coming after us for baby dicks. Anyway, is that one of our bands, the Baby Dicks? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So no, go ahead and take it away.
Well, when Nirvana launched this in 91 and Smells Like Teen Spirit was on MTV, it was played endlessly. Mm-hmm. And this is after MTV had been on for 10 years.
Yeah.
And they would be on for another, they're still on, but
about another 10 years.
Yeah.
2010, 2011.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become
20 years.
Yeah. It's become more of a reality show network and less focused on music. But yes, I remember not only was this just absolutely huge because of the video.
Oh, yeah.
It was absolutely huge because of the music. And I think it's a perfect example of both sides of that benefiting from MTV, right?
Yeah.
I think we'd still be talking about Nirvana if that video didn't exist. But the timing was perfect, and it was on the radio on multiple stations, multiple formats all the time, and it was in constant rotation.
Yeah, and it launched really the grunge scene.
Yeah.
And I mean that whole scene and so many bands, and they saw how Nirvana played it. They did the same thing. Music video was a big driver of grunge bands.
Yeah, and so there were, as there always are when there's a huge hit in the music industry, there's always copycat bands, not just from the music this time. There were copycat bands from the look and the visual, and that's the side of it that I think had never really truly been fully explored by the music industry. But it happened earlier in the 80s. Who's our number 4 band who's kind of an MTV darling?
Number 4 on the darling list, ZZ Top and the Eliminator album.
Yeah, this is Afterburner, which was...
Afterburner.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
the Eliminator was 83, I think.
Yeah.
So, and ZZ Top, to that point, was that little band from Texas, the trio that, played not basic, but blues rock.
Yeah.
And was kind of rooted in that. But when Eliminator came out with Legs and Sharp Dressed Man, they had adopted a more electronic sound with
they changed their whole sound.
And I remember reading a long time ago that Billy Gibbons said that having at that time, obviously it was an intentional choice, but what they really started doing, there's Eliminator, yeah. What they really started doing was playing to click tracks because they found that their tempo would, vary when they started playing. And, those guys had been around for a long time at that point and playing live gigs, and, there were chemicals and substances and all that stuff. But I heard Billy Gibbons mention that was part of the reason that they went to that electronic, drum machine sound. So, but ZZ Top, they had it all. They had the rock and roll, they had the cars, they had the girls and the long beards.
The look.
and sunglasses. And that was, I mean, that's an indelible image for MTV. I mean, you couldn't, once that album came out, you saw those videos constantly.
Yeah, I mean, they had, it pushed them into a top 40 band.
Yeah. Yeah.
MTV alone really pushed ZZ Top into a top 40 band.
And they're still hanging on to that image today.
Yeah.
For sure. So ZZ Top, number 4 MTV darling. And this next one is without a doubt
Dire Straits, Brother in Arms.
Yeah, the
Brothers in Arms.
the Money for Nothing video.
Yeah.
And they even call out MTV in that song.
Yes.
I Want My MTV and Sting is one of the backup singers on it. I remember, I mean, not just the fact that these guys were kind of really helped along and pushed along by MTV, but that style of video and that kind of distorted, I don't even know what the effect was. It was almost animated, but it was still not, almost looked like stop action. I
Yeah.
mean, it became a thing. Like, you know, not only did a lot of bands copy the musical style, but they also copied that video style.
Yeah, and like a bunch of well-known directors, like Spike Jonze was big in early MTV videos.
Yeah, and this, you know, Dire Straits is a fantastic band. Mark Knopfler, one of the best living guitarists. But, you know, and again, I didn't mention it for the Nirvana thing, but, you know, Weird Al Yankovic did a Smells Like Nirvana parody of Smells Like Teen Spirit. He also did a parody of Money for Nothing called the Beverly Hillbillies or something like that. Yeah. It was the story of the Beverly Hillbillies set to Money for Nothing, which, you know, you've made it when Weird Al, you know, does a parody of your song. So these guys are number 3.
Number 3.
Okay. All right.
And then
Now we're getting down to it.
number 2, Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar, hit me with your best shot.
Hit me with your best shot. And Pat was in that early day or the first day of MTV, she was on rotation heavily.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, she was really the first female rock pop star. And you know, not only that had to be a kind of a lonely place for a woman to be, not just in the music industry, but also in the MTV world, because, you know, the visual, we're so used to seeing the men in those positions, and she was really the female poster child for MTV. And her look, her hairstyle, her makeup style, the clothes she wore, that became a thing for women in the 80s.
It really did. And this was her video for You Better Run was the second video played on MTV ever.
Oh, really? After the Buggles? Huh, I didn't know that. And then you have Pat with her husband and the rest of her band on the back here. She really is kind of an unsung musical trailblazer.
Yeah.
And then you know, through the 80s, toward the end of the 80s and the early 90s, then female musicians just really got a foothold and became more of a mainstay in the music industry and on MTV too. So Pat Benatar, number 2. What do you think the number 1 choice is for MTV darlings?
There's a lot of bands we could have put on this, but this one, Duran Duran, really benefited greatly from MTV.
They had it all. They were kind of like that rock group. There were 5 guys. They had the, you know, the image, the makeup on. They had the songs to go with it. They had Rio. They had Hungry Like the Wolf. They had The Reflex. I mean, the list of their hits just goes on and on and on. And they were there from the beginning. And I think that it was a mutually beneficial relationship because they were a British band, which everybody loves, being invaded by Britain. But MTV took everything that they had to offer and ran with it. And, they're still a great band today. They're still touring. I think they're doing a residency in Vegas. What did you think of were you a fan of these guys at the time?
A mild fan.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't like my perfect go-to, but I liked them.
Yeah, and you couldn't get away from them.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Yeah, there are so many others that we could probably do 10 top fives of MTV darling bands, but it can't be overstated how much of a benefit they got from that constant rotation, which then pushed the constant radio play, and those two engines just fed off each other.
Yeah, and these are really 5 bands that we felt were really benefited from MTV exposure.
I mean, and we're still talking about all of them now.
Yeah, it's not like they're behind the scenes players. These are household names.
Yeah. So what we want you guys to do is to get on those social medias. Tell us what your top 5 MTV darling bands are. Tell us other top 5s you'd like us to get involved with, other stuff you'd like us to unbox. What else do we want people to do when they're there?
Like, subscribe, share, and comment.
Those are all great ideas. Mostly, we just want you guys to get familiar with that music collection, listen to it, take it out, look at those album covers, put it on the platter, hit play and sit back and take a little time machine trip back to when Duran Duran was literally on MTV about every hour.
Yes.
So for Wheels, I'm Jay, and we'll see you all the next time around.